To start, you're relatively new to this industry. How did you land a role like Wolfpack, and how did you celebrate the news that you booked the job?
You know, I started acting about 3 years ago and with representation probably like two and a half. So, just auditioning and stuff like that. And I had this like epiphany one day. I was just auditioning, sort of going through the motions, like, I didn't get a call back or I didn't book it because I wasn't what they were looking for.
Mm.
And then after one day, I was like, you know what? What if I like doubled the effort that I was putting into these auditions? Like, what if I took it to the absolute extreme and like started taking like risks with my choices and my self tapes? And eventually I started getting a lot of like callbacks and stuff like that. And then, when Wolfpack came around, when preparation meets opportunity, I just like, I seized that opportunity. And Jeff definitely took interest because I actually had an audition for the Teen Wolf movie as well. So I was like, okay, I think Jeff Davis likes my acting or something about me. And it was probably like this 3 week process of callbacks and chemistry reads and just meetings with the casting directors. And then one day I woke up and I got that call, and it literally felt like I was still like asleep and dreaming. Like I was in shock. So
One of the central themes of the series is about finding your path. Who are the people in your own life who've been along with you on this journey and shaped the storyteller that you are today?
definitely my family. My family has been there for me always. I'm so incredibly thankful for them, and they've been willing to sacrifice a lot to, make sure that we're all okay. Like when I moved out to California by myself, probably 2 years ago, my family, like 6 months later, all moved out to California as
Well,
well. We're all from Massachusetts. So they made a huge commitment. And it's because they care about like what we all want to do with our careers and stuff like that. And we respect each other and we're able to like communicate with each other. And it's a really like big factor I realized in my life. Like it allows me to sort of figure things out. Like I always come to them when I'm having like problems with something or I need help with something, and they're always willing to just like give me their best insight, and it's nice to get like different opinions and stuff. And obviously like my acting friends that I've made
yeah.
along the way, like I'm not talking about like people I've met at like events, big names like that. I'm talking about like my friends that I met from like class, like
Mm.
people who just love acting. They help me tremendously with all of my auditions and all that. So
But it's really rare in television to have a fan base before a series premieres. Did that bring any added pressure as you were heading into this project?
no, I think it kind of made me feel better about it because usually I think, you're kind of going into a project and you're like, well, I hope the pilot gets picked up, or well, I
Mm.
hope the show doesn't flop and we get like canceled after one season. But with a big fan base like this, people, there was already buzz like as soon as the deadline
Yeah.
released. So it did give me like a little giddy inside. Like I was like, oh, they're already excited for it. And honestly, it almost motivated me to work even harder because I was like, all right,
Mm.
I know they want this to work out. Like everybody wanted it to be as good as possible. So I was like, I'm gonna bring it. And everyone else did too. And
Yeah.
thought it came out great.
Definitely. Harlan's journey in this first season is really about exploring vulnerabilities and letting his walls down. And you brought so much nuance to that journey. Did you channel any of your own personal experiences as you prepared to step into his shoes?
Thank you. I think I definitely did. I think as an actor, it's almost like inevitable to not. Um, but yeah, just like certain mannerisms and
Mm.
especially certain experiences. I think Harlan starts off in the story, especially honestly, very lonely. He doesn't really
Yeah.
have like a group of friends, and his family is just his sister and his dad, who he doesn't really have a good relationship with either of them. So there's definitely been moments in my life where I've felt pretty alone and sort of hopeless and sort of just like, am I gonna, ever find like almost like a pack, like a good group of
Yeah.
friends that are going to be there for me like every second of the way. And I definitely felt that, like, that emptiness that Harlan felt as well at points throughout the season. And I also felt sort of this anxiety that we see progress throughout the season until, you know, the last episode when he has a panic attack
Yeah.
and Everett calls him out on it. I definitely saw that coming with Jeff's writing. So I incorporated it very slowly because I was like, I, you know, suffer with some pretty bad anxiety as well
Mm.
sometimes, especially like the panic attacks and stuff like that. So, you know, little things like that I was able to incorporate, but also there was some research and some, you know, movie watching, just watching different films, just taking everything I could from every character I've seen on television and sort of like incorporate the best things that would, you know, make Harlan the most like what's the word? Just like, I don't know, so that people could really like relate to his character, his
Yeah.
relatability.
Yeah. He's like very multi-layered. And you got to do your own stunts for this project, which actors don't always get the luxury to do. How hard did you have to fight for that? And how did that physicality allow you to tap into Harlan? And do you have a favorite stunt that you got to take part in?
Yeah, so you know, all the times that Officer Miller in episode 3 was shoving me against the wall, and that was real. And I didn't really have to fight for it. Like, it was just in the script and I was excited for it. I was like, oh hell yeah. Like, Harlan gets like, you know, pushed into the wall. He's like a convict now. That sort of thing. It was more them just being like, are you okay with this? If not, we
Mm.
can get a stunt double. And I, like, just personally, like, I don't know if it's a passion for stunts or if I just take the craft too seriously, but I was like, no, like, it's gonna look fake if we have to cut and then put a stunt double in. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not scared of stuff like that. So I did it. And one night we actually ended up putting a hole in the wall from that. And, it was kind of crazy, but you know, I just like that kind of stuff. So I
Yeah.
was getting a kick out of it. There was a few stunts where they wouldn't let us do them. Like where Harlan gets thrown into the wall in episode 7. They were like, this is way too dangerous for you. Like, we don't want you getting like seriously injured. And I was like, okay. So Stunt Double took care of that one. He did an amazing job. I asked him how it was after. He was like, "Oh, it hurt so much, bro." And I was like, "Well, I'm sorry about that, man, but I'm glad that I wasn't the one that did it." Like, um, but yeah, no, the stunts were really fun. I told Jeff, like, if we do season 2, like, please give me like double the amount of stunts. Give me
Mm.
fun choreography. Like, I love stuff like that. I grew up as an athlete, so like
Yeah.
physical activity, if I can incorporate that with acting, it's a dream come true.
And this is one of your biggest roles to date. Has anything surprised you about the overall experience? What's been the biggest takeaway thus far?
Yeah, you know, I went into it knowing that I was going to learn a lot, but not as much as I did. I came out of that project feeling like an actor who's been working in this industry for years. Like, I felt so just like deep into my craft and so like well knowledged after it. I think it was because, you know, I was getting every ounce of information that I could from like Rodrigo and Sarah and Jeff. And like I was literally like, you know, right by the cameraman's side all the time, like asking like how they can like pull focus, stuff like that. I was just like trying to be a sponge on set and just literally taking as much information as I could. So it was definitely by far the best learning experience I've had from acting so far. Like, better than any amounts of acting class. I mean,
Yeah.
any actor will probably tell you that because you're working consistently. But it definitely caught me off guard because honestly, looking back at season 1 now, I'll be watching it and I'll be like, hmm, I could have done something better there. Ah,
Mm.
yeah, I should have taken that beat there. So like, it's almost like a curse of getting better, but it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's like stuff that you'll be able to take into the next season as well. And I like having these conversations after a season is completely rolled out because you're able to talk more about it. Was there a scene in particular that you were really excited for audiences to see, and which was the most challenging for you to film in season 1?
Yeah, okay, honestly, my favorite scene for audience to see was either some of the more comedic scenes because
Mm.
personally, like a struggle that I've had in my acting journey so far is just like finding the comedy, because like comedy is actually a very like intricate thing.
Yeah.
Like you have to realize that like usually joke like setups for jokes come in like threes. So like it's like, build up, joke. Things like that like I had no idea about. But like, learning on set and like seeing through Jeff's writing, like he did make Harlan like pretty funny in sort of a like a dull, like not trying to be funny way, in more of a rude
Yeah.
way. So I was excited if those translated well, and I think that most of them did. But like probably like, emotional, like really pulled from like, a deep place in acting was probably at the end of episode 6 when I punch Rodrigo in the face and we have that whole moment, and then I'm like crying after. That felt really rewarding to me
Mm.
because it was like a big step as an actor. Like I was
Yeah.
able to express anger and emotion and then get really soft and quiet with Rodrigo and like cry for multiple takes, and it took like no problem at all. So yeah. But most difficult, I would say, was probably the panic attack
Mm.
in that episode where we're pulling Baron into the room, just because it took a lot out of me, like the hyperventilating and the
Yeah.
breathing. And I didn't want it to look stupid. Like I didn't want it to look like, oh, what's he doing over there? Like that doesn't look real. So I was like, shoot, like I have to basically almost have a panic attack to make it look real. So like by the end, like I was sort of like getting lightheaded and my like fingers were tingling just from like how much I was like heavy breathing and yelling and all this stuff. So yeah, it's all fun though.
Yeah, and it came across very well on screen as well. You've also said in previous interviews that as a storyteller, your mission is to really create art that impacts audiences. And with social media, you're getting that real-time interaction with the fans. What has it meant to you to see the response, and how much of your portrayal of Harlan has meant to them?
It means the world. People telling me that they love my character. It's the best compliment you could ever get. As an actor, you devote your life to being able to tell a story that people can relate with and that people enjoy. And then you get the feedback like that. And it's just like the best feeling in the world, especially like people who are like, you really helped me realize this, or like you really helped me through this time. Like your character was so comforting to me. Things like that. Just like, that's kind of like why I do it. It's not only to storytell and to sort of, create these characters, as much as that's like fun to do. Like I also do want to like help people and like allow people to sort of relate and connect with these characters and realize things about themselves and
Mm.
learn from the characters. So seeing that online, and even like people like drawing me or like making like art, like
Yeah.
that's beautiful too, because like I made a piece of art and now it's trickling down into these other forms of art, and it's just like it's the best possible outcome for an actor, I think.
Definitely, in true Jeff Davis fashion, the season ends with a lot of reveals and some major cliffhangers. If we're lucky enough to get a second season, where do you want to see Harlan's storyline head? Is there another actor that you would love to do more scenes with?
I actually had a conversation with, the rest of the cast and Jeff at some point after we wrapped season 1. And God, I mean, I couldn't even choose which actor that I wanted to do most scenes with. Like, I love working with all of them. We're all like a big group of friends now, and it's
Yeah.
really nice because, like, actually, I was with Armani and Chase and Zach last night. We all went to go see like a basketball game. So we're all going to a sports event, and the entire car ride there, all we were talking about was acting and
Mm.
projects and Wolfpack. And yeah, like I don't know, they're all just so unique in their own like structure of acting that working with them all gives me like different experiences with each of them. But I would say I really just want Harlan, I want him to show his vulnerability, but I also want him to, be able to stick up for himself and be tough. I think at some points he lets things get to his head too much. And I used to be like that too. Still sometimes I let things get to my head, I overthink it, I sort of self-destruct.
Mm,
And Harlan does it too. He self-destructs, he becomes selfish, or he becomes sort of, you know, a radical in this sense of like he'll make a bad decision, not intentionally. He just sort of like panics. So I want to see him really focus on that. And, maybe with that comes struggle, or it comes like strength, or, I feel like just that sort of arc with him will bring a lot of like cool scenes.
yeah.
Obviously, I want his and Everett's friendship to only improve. I want him to, get to know like who his brother sort of is, like this kid who is also 18, who's his brother. Like he knows nothing about him. Like I have a little brother. If I just found out he existed yesterday, I'd be like, oh my God, like, dude, we got to talk about stuff. So, certain things like that, I would like to see incorporated in the next season.
Yeah, and then speaking of the cast, there's such a great chemistry that comes off the screen between you and everybody else, and it's not always the case where you all get along, and you can tell that there's a real friendship there. How did you all build that bond? And is it a challenge when you have actors that are coming in and out at different points throughout that storyline?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think any of us expected it to get this close. Like
Yeah,
we literally love each other's. Like we're all like family. And I, I don't know really what it takes. I think it just takes everyone willing to get along. Like, the four of us at first, we all got along immediately. I don't think we really left anyone a choice to do otherwise. Because I think the second that you let one person sort of act like, you know, just rude and not really willing to like comply with the rest of the cast, I think it like sets the tone with it, just like kind of falls apart. They're like,
yeah,
well, they're not gonna like be friends with us. Maybe I'm not gonna be friends with you, or maybe they're not gonna be friends with me. And I think all of us just sort of being role models for each other,
mm,
setting the tone, being like, no, we're all respecting each other, we're all the same age. And I think it helped that all of us are pretty new into the acting industry.
yeah,
Like, obviously like Armani and Bella, they've done some work when they were younger, but like none of us had like super big names. No one really had egos like at all. So I think that helped a lot. I think we were all like, you know what,
yeah.
this is like our big break, guys. Like, we're gonna be friends for the rest of our lives, if this goes well, and if we, stick with each other. So I think we all realized that very early on, and it allowed us to still be friends today.
Definitely. That's like one of Jeff's superpowers is to find kind of these
Oh my
emerging
God.
young talents.
Yeah, not only does he give opportunities, he just creates like these giant friend groups with people. It's kind of crazy.
I got one final question for you. You're such a dynamic storyteller. As you continue on as this journey as an actor, is there a dream role that you would love to bring to life?
This was one of the things that I was talking to Chase and Armani and Zach
Mm,
about yesterday. God, I think about this a lot because there's a lot of different projects that I want to do. Um, I'll list a few just to sort of, give my sort of thoughts on this. I would love to do a deep romance, sort of like a sad romance almost.
mm,
Very like a heart-wrenching story. It would take a lot out of me, but I feel like I'm capable of it, and I
yeah,
feel like it would probably translate pretty well. And then I would also love to play an athlete. That would be really cool because I love sports. And then honestly, like I think it would be kind of cool to do like a period piece, you
yeah,
know? Like I'm not super well versed in like, old poetry or old English or stuff like that, but I would love to learn it. And I feel like that would like make me progress as an actor so much. So maybe like something that involves like an accent or a different dialect. Obviously like playing a superhero, duh. Everyone wants
yeah.
to play a superhero. Like that's every actor's dream. Um, but those more three specific things would be really cool to do. So who knows? We'll see what the future brings. I'll take any project that really speaks to me. So
Yeah.